You're listening to the Plane Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carlos Stebbings, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Well, hello and welcome to episode number 233 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I'm Carl Stebbings and, well, I'm not in the kitchen studio this week, but I'm back and we are at Smith HQ.
I know, who'd have thought that, hey? We're actually broadcasting from my gaff for a change. That's going to be...
in the it's the up-and-coming studio.
Yes, hopefully, yes.
Yeah,
so
the new one.
My little box room here is sort of being converted into a nice space. So yeah, fingers crossed. We'll say a couple of glitches still here in the studio, so apologies in advance if you get any weird whiteouts and things. It's very much a work in progress, but yeah, we're getting there, aren't we?
Yeah, it's coming together quite nicely. We've got our new chairs in here, which are all really comfy.
Very comfy, yes.
And it's great.
Yeah,
so
I may actually make it through a show without a bad back.
I know.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And also joining us via the realms of Google Hangouts, it's the awesome Sir Neville Bounds.
Yes, hello everybody, and it's been a very interesting weekend here so far. I've got some new swag, my new NevTech polo shirts here, but more importantly, young Carlos has very kindly given me a gift, which is called the mini karaoke microphone, and although I shan't be using it this week, I'm going to find some connectors.
Are you?
I'll be using it on next week's show, and we can see how
good it is. Just hold that nice and close to the camera there, please.
You've got to see the quality.
That really does look like it's got. Oh, I mean, honestly. So, yes, basically, I'm trying to work out how to describe this to those who are listening to the audio version of the podcast. I can't use the word that I want to use, but it's something along the lines of crap.
Inadequate.
Inadequate is another good word. Yeah,
I tell you what, you guys are going to get such a shock because when Nev finally plugs that in and tries it, it's going to be like 4K audio. It's going to be that good.
If that was even a thing, Carlos, I'd be very excited for you. But absolutely. So right, well, yes, I look forward to it, Nev. I can't wait. Yeah.
So joining us as well, we have a very special guest joining us this week, and he's been on the show, but ages ago. But the reason he's not been on the show sooner is because he's just been flying everywhere, literally around the globe. This guy does about 1 million miles a week.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Actually, Neil Lambourne's come up with a brilliant idea. Nev, I'm sorry, that microphone needs a muff. I'm sorry,
yes,
it's a bit naked. Is she right? Yes, excellent.
So we're going to welcome back onto the show Adrian Meacham.
Morning. Glad to be back after, like you say, I wouldn't say I've been doing 1 million miles, but yeah, I'm getting around a little bit. Still getting back to the States for about 6 weeks.
I bet if you sat down and worked it out, Adrian, I think you might be in for a bit of a nasty shock, actually, judging by some of the flying you have been done. You can't be far away from that. Yeah, I wouldn't mind your Avios points, though. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, the miles are good. One thing I haven't been doing, unfortunately, is flying myself.
Of course, yeah.
The GA, but anyway. Hopefully, I'll get back to that soon. Probably will.
Yeah, no, well, that is good. Okay, so it's Captain L says the microphone looks like it should belong on a TriStar. By the way, I don't know. Captain L's in the chat room, everyone. Yes,
moving
absolutely.
swiftly on. Okay. So it is the 9th of September, and it's just coming up to 10:20 in the morning on a Sunday morning here. And we've got loads of people in the chat room joining us this morning, so welcome everyone. Mariana, Captain Al, obviously, Richard Adams. We've got Neil Landwarn. We've got Mash is in the chat room. Richard King, Auntie Liz. I'm just scrolling up here. Flyer152, hello to you, who's at the barbecue we had a few weeks back. And I'm just scrolling up the list, make sure I've not missed anyone. No, I don't think I've missed anyone.
Well, the safe thing to say there is, and apologies if we've missed anyone. So, and everyone else who has joined us in the chat room, it's all good. But it is the beginning or the first show of the month, essentially.
It is,
or is it the second?
No, it is the first show of the month, and we're going to hand things over to Nev because we've got some very special mentions for this week.
Indeed, yeah.
Oh yes, of course. And the first show of the month, we always say thank you very much to our fabulous Patreon donors, and they are Adam Spink, Adrian Meacham, Andrew Wilson, I beg your pardon, Captain Jeff, Eric Graves, Evan Shue, Graham Haley, Jeff Ward, Jonathan Warner, Jordan Rose, Lee Parkinson, Liz Piper, Matt Caton, Matt Donnemeyer, Matthew Bunting Frame, Myla, Neil Lanwarn, Nick Anderson, Nico Reger, Philip Labe, Ray Williams, Ryan Harper, Stuart Backer, Stephanie Plummer, Steve Andress, Stuart Black, Trevor Smith and York Mola. Thank you one and all for your fantastic contributions, and
Absolutely.
It makes such a difference to be able to do that so that we can keep the show on the air.
Absolutely, very much so. In fact, actually, one of the names that you mentioned there, of course, I think needs special mention also, because it's a certain Captain Nick Anderson's birthday today, which obviously we don't want to forget. So I don't know how the voice is this morning, Carlos. Are you
We could do a little ditty.
well, I
couldn't
think
we?
so.
A little
Absolutely.
ditty,
Shall we just
especially for Nick.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nick. Happy birthday to you. That was painful. Yeah, okay. See, I was trying to do the harmony there, and then Carlos followed me. That was never mind. Anyway, all part of the fun.
Very
Yes,
painful.
nice use of the microphone there, by the way, Carlos. Not
Yeah,
Carlos.
I thought the quality was excellent.
Absolutely. Nice bit of echo on that. I'm impressed.
Yes, so I think it's safe to say that Captain Nick is counting down the milliseconds as to when
It's
he...
1 year until he retires.
Yes, absolutely. He's going to miss it. He's
gonna
going to... I'm
miss
sorry,
it.
I don't care what he says. He's saying he can't wait. And mind you, I don't know how he has time to go to work as it is with all his bowling and goodness knows what else. But anyway, from
And
all of us
actually-
here at the World of PT UK, it is very much happy birthday from us all.
Yeah, it's a happy birthday, Nick. And do you know what I heard on a recent APG episode that Captain Nick had won a prestigious bowling
Yes,
award
absolutely. He did, yeah.
for some sort of achievement or something for bowling, for lawn bowls.
Right.
So well done, Nick.
Right.
Well
Okay.
done.
Who'd have thought that lawn bowls
Was it
would have
in
got...
the over 70s class?
That's a terrible... Yes, all complaints, please, directly to podcast at
Apparently
plaintalkinguk.com
he's-
and direct them, please, to Sir Neville of Bounds.
He's eligible now for a bus now to take him from one end of the green to the other to collect his bowls.
Right, okay. I think that's the first time that we've ever mentioned lawn bowls on the show. I have to be honest. Anyway, that's not aviation related, and we probably
No,
should start doing
I know.
exactly that. So yeah.
We are going to start. But we're actually, first, before we start, we have got loads of this week. We've got quite a lot of segments to get in this week. We've got a special segment from Nev, an NPE segment. We've also got some footage from Farnborough with Captain Al, and we've also got a Pip sent in a segment this week.
He has, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Pip's actually sent a segment in, so we've got that as well coming up. But first, we are going to start the show as we do each week with our rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So if you're ready, Matt.
I am indeed, yeah.
And if you're ready, Nev.
Yep.
And if you're ready, Adrian.
Indeed.
Let's go.
Do you know what? I think that's one of the smoothest fades I've ever done in my life. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm having everything's all laid out slightly differently because of this new version, so apologies.
Production values
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
gone
Yeah,
through
they've
the
gone
roof
through the roof here, haven't they?
So
Yeah,
this week's
absolutely.
first news story is on the punchline Gloucester.com.
I beg your pardon.
I know, the punchline
The what now?
Gloucester.com. And this headline is plans for airport training academy spark protests. So local people and councils have protested against plans for a major flight training centre at Gloucestershire Airport. They fear it will lead to training flights 24/7 and involve night flying, which would severely impact on many people's quality of life. Skyborne Aviation has applied for permission to build a 4-storey high 79-bed student accommodation block as part of the Flight Training Academy for aspiring commercial pilots. The company says the gross contribution to the local economy generated by the development in spending power would be between £1.5 and £2 million a year. It would also create up to 50 full-time jobs. There's a global shortage of qualified airline pilots and only one other comparable flight training academy in the UK. Skyborne Aviation believes that the scheme, if approved by Tewkesbury Borough Council planners, will help make Gloucestershire Airport the leading venue for both general aviation and commercial pilot training. But local people have objected to the scheme, claiming it would lead to intensification of airport activity beyond its existing opening hours. Down Hatherley Parish Council said in a statement to Tewkesbury Borough Council that the activity linked to the proposed development in the Greenbelt would severely impact on many people's quality of life and blight their properties due to the extended airport operating hours and night flying it requires. Therefore, we object to the application. Well, as being a lover of aviation, I would my answer is probably, you can probably guess what my answer would be to that.
Yeah, just bear in mind this is a family show, ladies and gentlemen, family show.
Yeah, I just think, I don't know, but I mean, if you look at the pictures of where the airport is situated, I mean, there's not many housing estates
there's not much around
there.
it. But then you think even with our local airfield in Beccles and how rural that is, and it really is away from.
Oh, you still get people whinge
Yeah,
there.
well, this is it, and you really are. You're not even. It's not even like it's right in the middle of Beccles. You know what I mean? So it's on the outskirts of Beccles, but people still complain. In fact, there are rules about you have to avoid a certain left turn. You have to be, and all that kind of thing. So,
but one thing that people tend to forget a lot in situations like this is that 9 times out of 10 the airport was there, or the airfield was there, before the housing estates were built.
But you could say that about pubs as well, can't you? I mean, the amount of times, one pub I can think of that's local to us that's been essentially here since like the year 1300 or something stupid. And
I'd also like to congratulate the journalist on this piece of work, Bev Hawes, who said they fear it will lead to training flights 24/7.
Wow.
Interesting for GA operations, isn't it?
Yeah. Do they do a lot of night flying?
No.
Okay, right, okay. Oh, well, there we are.
What do you reckon, Adrian? You've got Tatton Hill, which is not far from you.
Yeah, actually, I know Gloucester Airport pretty well. It was actually where I did my solo cross country, so it was quite a nice little airport. Actually, it's a little airport. It was, to me and my little sister, it felt like a kind of big airport, with air traffic control and business jets, and there was actually when I landed there and I went in to pay my fees and get my piece of paper signed, there was actually a baggage carousel there, which I really thought I'd made it. I thought I was a real pilot when I landed there. But no, it really is a cracking little airport. It's really nice, and it's probably a bit more built up around there than you may think. Right. Actually, GCHQ is pretty much at the end of the runway, and
okay.
Yeah, so that new big sort of donut building, you kind of fly over it in one of the directions. So it was kind of interesting. So, no mention of that as being one of the reasons for not. Yeah, great little place.
Yeah, actually, that must be a concern. Obviously, a major sort of security outlet like that not being a million miles away. I mean,
it was really strange when I first flew over it to land. I thought, I'm in the right place. Should I be here? It was just really strange.
Have I accidentally ended up at some kind of, sort of military stronghold or something?
That was pretty much what I was thinking. Which, with my navigation skills, it could well have been.
We're not going to talk about that now, Adrian.
Greeted on the tarmac by several AK-47s. That's it's always a welcome you look forward to, isn't it? Yeah.
Pretty much the deal, yeah. So, no, it's a great effort. I could see why they would want to expand it. It's got a real good sort of infrastructure there. So yeah, it's got neighbours at least. So that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next story, and Matt, it's a special one just for you, as always.
Right. Okay, yes. So this is on the independent.co.uk, and I think we covered some of this actually last week. So Ryanair amends. What are you pointing at?
A bit quiet.
Am I? Oh,
yeah, there we go.
Apparently I was a bit quiet. Oh dear. Yeah. I shall hang on. There we go. That's better. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
He's falling down.
Yes, indeed. It's getting closer and closer. We need to tighten this up, I think, actually, because my one's playing up here. Anyway, sorry. Independent.co.uk. The headline is Ryanair amends controversial new baggage policy just weeks after announcing it. So Ryanair has made yet more changes to its baggage policy 2 weeks after announcing that passengers will only be allowed to take on one small bag for free. Europe's biggest airline caused controversy when it reported that from the 1st of November, its free baggage allowance would no longer include one larger suitcase and one small bag. Originally, Ryanair stated that anyone travelling after that date, even those who had booked their flights prior to the rule change, would have to pay extra even if they wanted to take on a second larger bag with them, either by buying priority boarding or by paying to check in a 10k bag. However, the low-cost airline has had a change of heart and announced that those who are flying after the 1st of November but who booked before the 31st of August can check a 10k bag in for free. Some 2 million customers have been alerted by email that the free checked bag has been added to their booking. Anyone who was booked before the 31st of August but subsequently paid for priority boarding after the new rules were announced will have the €8 that they paid refunded. Wow. Refunded?
They'll bounce, though.
Stop it. Yet they can still travel with priority boarding for free. So Ryanair's Kenny Jacobs said all passengers who had booked on or before the 31st of August will face no extra cost or inconvenience, as they have today received a free 10k check bag from Ryanair added to their booking. We're also looking forward to welcoming some 50,000 passengers on board after the 1st of November who made their booking before the 31st of August, but who bought priority boarding over the last 2 weeks, who will now receive this free service. As always, Ryanair continues to lower the cost of travel, while our new bag policy from the 1st of November means we can eliminate all free gate bags and related flight delays. Ryanair first revealed its new luggage policy on the 24th of August, insisting the move was purely to improve timekeeping and was not a money-making exercise. Passengers have only been getting used to the airline's latest cabin baggage policy since January. The latest rules now allow passengers to take 2 bags through the security checkpoint to the departure gate. But from the 1st of November, travellers can choose to take 1 small bag for free, that's 40 centimetres by 20 centimetres by 25 centimetres, pay from £6 for priority boarding and take an extra 10 kilogram bag as hand luggage, or pay from £8 to check in an extra 10k bag. However, as space in the cabin is limited, the number of customers eligible for priority boarding is capped at 95 per flight, about half of the passengers. After that, those who want to bring an extra bag and will have to pay £2 more to put it in the hold. The airline claims that only 40% of passengers will be affected, since 30% already buy priority boarding and 30% currently travel with 1 bag which fits within the small bag dimensions. It's a new charge, but fares are going down at the same time, said Mr. Jacobs. This is a fair outcome customers will get used to. I should probably add an extra word into this. Is a fair outcome that customers will have to get used to. But there we are. It's
why can't they just change it and leave it? Every 5 minutes, just pick, choose an option, leave it.
You do worry that maybe one of the reasons why they're doing all the changing and things is literally to generate confusion. A small part of me suspects that because people are going to be paying fines and stuff at the gate, and perhaps they rather foolishly thought that the GP, the general public, wouldn't notice. Do you have any thoughts on this, Nev?
Well, as I said the other week, the problem with they've got is that they keep changing the rules, and I think just as you get accustomed to the rules, they change them again. And even some of my Ryanair experts that do a lot of flying, they're going, we can't keep up with it.
No idea what the rules are. Yeah. I do think that is a valid point, isn't it? The concern is that, as I say, they're changing the rules so readily, nobody actually knows what they are. I mean, I feel sorry for the cabin crew, I really do, because of course these are the poor guys that are having to deal with the brunt of it when these changes are happening. But I mean, what was the matter with the old system, though? That I sort of managed to work that out. You got your 1 bag, and you knew that all you could take on was 1 bag. And you knew that if you had a handbag or something else, that you had to put it inside the bag. It's why make it really, really complicated? And then everybody could get all their bags in, and it was never a problem. It's only since they started allowing extra people, extra luggage on board, that the problem started. Surely
they'll just take the seats out at some point. What do you reckon, Adrian? Obviously, you fly Ryanair quite frequently.
I actually avoid Ryanair.
Yes.
Mainly because if to go with such an airline, I much prefer EasyJet and actually Jet2. We've got Jet2 service out of Manchester, so I really don't like travelling with Ryanair, mainly because of all this confusion with bags and everything else. It's just
Yeah, no, it's not ideal, is it? Yeah, we're going to move on to the next story now. And Nev, perhaps you'd be so kind.
Yes, it's on the telegraph.co.uk, and I have my British Airways American Express card here, and a pair of scissors.
Right.
Am I going to do a live cutting of my... No, of course not.
No, of course not. Do you know what? I got...
You thought I was going to go through
I thought it got a bit warm here in the studio.
In my view, it's unnecessary.
Yes.
And this is why. It says that British Airways was warned by IT experts that it was vulnerable to a hack in which criminals could steal customers' card details earlier this year, it's been claimed. The airline announced on Thursday that it suffered a major hack compromising the bank card information of around 380,000 customers. Due to strict new data protection laws, British Airways is now facing a fine of up to £897 million, or 4% of its parent company's turnover, if regulators find that it's not done enough to keep customers' data safe. The Telegraph can reveal that last year the airline failed an industry standard for consumer data protection, which is required by card providers, Visa and MasterCard, for all companies accepting, transmitting or storing any cardholder data. The standard, called the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, is a set of security standards designed to ensure that companies which accept, process, store and transmit credit card information keep it secure. British Airways said it has had a fully operational monitoring tools which is used to check for suspicious activity. It added that the standard related to the protection of customer accounts, none of which were compromised during the attack. An IT expert told the newspaper that it had warned BA that it was vulnerable to being hacked, accusing it of sticking its head in the sand over the state of its IT systems. British Airways denied that it received any such warnings. Derwin Jones, who's the chief executive at payment provider Ultracom, said this latest breach is a serious wake-up call, particularly to the travel industry, that we live in a new era of sophisticated hacking where no company is invulnerable. The airline admitted criminal activity had compromised the personal and financial details of customers who made bookings on its website or app just before 11 p.m. on August the 21st until 9:45 p.m. on Wednesday. British Airways confirmed Friday morning that hackers had obtained names, addresses, credit card numbers, expiry dates, and 3-digit security codes on the back of cards, enough for them to make fraudulent payments. Furious British Airways customers have been left having to cancel their credit cards, with many reporting that they had money taken from their accounts and rogue direct debits set up in their names. Alex Cruz, British Airways chairman, revealed that the hackers were very sophisticated criminals who had not hacked the company's encrypted data, but rather gained illicit access to the airline system. Well, I think that although this is quite a big story, it's a very common story. This is happening all the time, and we're always going to be one or two steps behind the criminal fraternity. So I spoke to American Express on Friday about my card, and they said, no, don't worry about it, Mr. Bounds. We'll let you know if we see any fraudulent activity on your card. In fact, it has happened 2 or 3 times where they've seen something in their system that it's not even appeared on my statement or as a payment, and they said, yeah, we've got a bit of a problem, we're going to cancel your card, but you'll have a new one in the morning. And sure enough,
there it was. The thing that concerns me about this story, though, I completely take on board what you're saying, Nev. The thing that bothers me about this story the most is that, having done some various card transaction processing in the past myself through websites and things, now we've always used say for example, if you use Barclaycard as your payment vendor, standard procedure is that it's the payment vendor who is dealing with, so it's Barclaycard themselves, if you like, who are dealing with processing that card payment. And normally what you would do is pass information back to the website that is sort of taking a payment to say, yes, that's gone through, or no, that has not. At no point do card details under normal circumstances go on to in BA's website. So the thing that concerns me here is how somebody having my card number doesn't bother me. Somebody having my expiry date doesn't bother me. Somebody having my address, even while slightly alarming, it still doesn't bother me. The fact that this system has stored, which is a very, very big no-no as far as card processing is concerned, the fact that your 3-digit security pin on the back of the card has been stored is a massive, massive fail. That's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
That's the bit that worries me. Now, I know that's not BA's fault because they use a third-party vendor for doing that, and obviously, presumably, they will be the ones who are directly responsible for these things. But now, admittedly, I've only got experience with one system, so perhaps I got lucky and I used a good system, perhaps when I've been setting up websites for people in the past. But as I say, I was under the impression that those last 3-digit card, that was literally supposed to be used for authorization purposes only.
BA did say in a report that I saw during the week that data is not stored, but that's actually contradictory to a few other items, other reports that I've seen. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, either way, this third-party vendor, I think is about to get a very large bill, aren't they? But it's just that, as I say, it was that really that bothered me that much. I mean, as you say, all the time nowadays, unfortunately, we're never going to be one step ahead of the fraudsters, are we? That's the sad truth of it, is there'll always be hacking systems and trying to get details. But it's I must admit, on the one occasion where I had it happen to me, my bank was very good, and they actually phoned me up before I knew anything was wrong. Yes.
And said,
actually, Captain Al has been commented in the chat room. He says that I've had my BAE card hacked. I've never been to Spearmint Rhino.
Right.
Well, I know differently.
Well, that's slightly slanderous. Anyway. Quick, danger.
So the next story, moving on, is for Adrian. Are you still there, Adrian?
Yeah, still here. So, so this is coming from CNN. So, captain buys 40 pizzas for his airline passengers after plane forced to land due to weather. Story goes on to say, passengers from American Airlines flight 2354 from Los Angeles to Dallas-Fort Worth were bracing for a long night. The plane was diverted to the regional airport in Wichita Falls, Texas, on Thursday due to severe thunderstorms, and 159 frustrated passengers were facing the prospect of being stuck there until the morning. So, trying to ease their inconvenience, the plane's captain, Jeff Rains, called the local Papa John's and ordered 40 fresh pizzas for delivery to the airport. And then there's a video which we can play showing the captain running backwards and forth delivering the pizzas. And in a message on Facebook, the captain said his entire team participated to help the passengers. Thanks for the compliments, however, this was a team effort, Rain said. My first officer was on the telephone with the crew, tracking, arranging for our release and hotels for the entire crew. And the attendants manned a gallery cart from the aircraft serving waters, juice and sodas to all the passengers in the terminal. Thanks to everyone for your help, he went on to state. There is no hiding team. American Airlines confirmed to CNN the flight was diverted because of bad weather and continued its journey to Dallas-Fort Worth on Friday morning. We went on to say, we're always proud of our crew members who take great care of our customers to fly in American Airlines, and are fortunate they are the best in the business, and spokesman Tom Henderson. Sounds like something our Captain Jeff would do now.
Indeed. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean 40 pizzas for one takeaway, that seems like that would take a while to get, but there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perhaps they still thought they were having a pizza eating competition.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, no, Captain Al wasn't the one in charge there. I think otherwise
that'd be chicken nuggets.
Yeah, it would be chicken nuggets for a start. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Actually, I can say I challenge Captain Al to a pizza eating contest. Bring it on. No, maybe not.
Be like a really bad episode of Man vs. Food.
It says 40 fresh pizzas. I should imagine some were fresher than the others. I mean,
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
The last ones out the oven may have been fresh, but I'm not sure about the first one.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Nice gesture from from the captain, no doubt.
Absolutely. Just a quick apologies, guys. We are aware we are having a few problems with Adrian's audio, which we'll try and sort out in a moment. But so just bear with us while we try and get the duplexing thing functioning properly. Right, Carlos, if you could take on the next story, I would be grateful.
Yes, the next story we have is on the EU.USA Today. .com website.
Okay, good.
And it's good news for those of you who live in the US, because a new airline, California Pacific, is ready for West Coast takeoff. So make room for California Pacific as the USA's newest airline brand. California Pacific Airlines West Coast flights are set to begin on November the 1st this year, culminating 8 years of a start-up and stop efforts to launch the carrier. The airline will be based at the McAllen Palomar Airport. Or Palomar? There we go. A secondary airport that sits about 30 miles north of San Diego in the California city of Carlsbad. The airline has announced 4 routes from Carlsbad, with the first 2 to San Jose, California, and Reno, Nevada, set to launch on November the 1st. Additional services to Las Vegas and Phoenix Mesa will debut 2 weeks later. And California Pacific will use 50-seat Embraer E145 regional jets for its flights. The launch of the service will be a welcome milestone for the airline, founded in 2010 by the now 97-year-old Southern Californian businessman Ted Vallis. He said that we're going to put a smile back into flying, he said to CBS San Diego in March. People are going to want to fly us again, even for short trips to Las Vegas. But it's been a challenge for California Pacific to get off the ground. The carrier ran into numerous roadblocks, ranging from problems with that needed approval from the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, to reaching an agreement with the San Diego County, which owns the Carlsbad Airport. There have been several planned launches that have come and gone, but finally California Pacific has set a firm date that it appears likely to meet. There's a great deal of relief and joy, Mickey Bowman, California Pacic's chief operating officer, said to the San Diego's Union Tribune last week. It's obviously been a long time coming, he said. California Pacific's decision to purchase and rebrand an existing airline appears to have paved the way for its long-anticipated launch. Aerodynamic Incorporated, ADI, a small Georgia-based carrier, was acquired by California Pacific in 2017. The move gave California Pacific access to ADI's FAA operating certificate and a fleet of 4 Embraer 145 regional jets. California Pacific announced on the 1st of August that it would rebrand ADI as California Pacific, effective from the September the 1st. That paved the way for the launch of California Pacific's standalone operation in Carlsbad in November. Technically, some California Pacific flights have already begun. 2 other routes that ADI operates from Denver as part of a government contract have already switched over to the new California Pacific name and booking platform, and those essential air service routes to the South Dakota cities of Pierre and Watertown have expected to continue at least until the federal contract ends in 31st of July 2020. But those flights may remain if things go well for California Pacific. Bowman tells USA Today in the Sky blog that aside from its main base in Carlsbad, California, Pacific also hopes to build its book of business out of Denver as well. And, well, it's safe to say it's nice to see an airline start up, because we obviously see lots of airlines that don't do so well these days, Matt. Obviously, airlines that cease to operate.
I was just going to say, the picture that I put up, is by any chance it the correct picture, Nev? Is it the right one?
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, that was
Hang
correct.
on, there you go.
Sorry,
I've popped it up. It is actually the right picture.
That is
Is it?
correct,
Yeah, well,
yeah,
there
that is
we are.
correct.
There's no media fail on their part there. Then at least that makes a change.
Actually, that's
dear.
the same jet that Stuart flies.
Is it?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
Stuart,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yes. Get well soon, by the way, Stuart.
Yes.
Bless. Yes. Our friendly pilot has had a bit of an accident.
He did, yeah.
Yes.
I've been and seen him in hospital this week, and Stuart is on the mend. He's just awaiting operation this week on his foot.
Made a bit of a mess
So,
of it on his
yes.
bike, basically.
So all the best to you, Stuart. Hope you get well soon. Hope to see you back in the skies ASAP.
Absolutely. But it's all right. Carlos was very good because he brought in grapes and what I can only describe as the biggest pile of aviation-related reading material I've ever seen in my entire life.
8 months worth of Airliner World magazine.
Yeah, right.
Now sit beside Stuart's hospital bed.
Indeed, I dare say the hospital are absolutely thrilled. What do you reckon, Nev?
Yeah, absolutely superb. But no, I'm very sorry to hear about the poor chap. That's not good. But I hope he gets better soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my story next, isn't it? And I've been so busy faffing around that I haven't even...
It's on the abcnews.go.com.
Right, okay. So, this particular couple, according to this, are travelling the world for free using 2 million banked airline miles. Oh, it sounds like Nev here. It's just like... no? Okay, Chad and Hannah, this is on the ABC News, as Carlos said, Chad and Hannah are living everyone's travel dreams. The couple is celebrating their second wedding anniversary in Hawaii and then heading out to travel the world for a year using 2 million miles they've racked up by strategically playing the credit card bonus game. Wow, we all need tips on how to play this game then, by the sound of it. Yes, you read that right. Chad, 25, and Hannah, 23. They're not even old enough to...
so young.
Right, Chad, 25 and Hannah, 23, will be visiting over 40 countries and possibly more on miles they earned, while simply using credit cards on expenses they had to pay over the last year anyway. So 2 weeks ago, they quit their finance jobs, sold everything and packed into suitcases and 2 backpacks to embark on their epic journey. After spending a couple of weeks in Hawaii, they plan to fly to Japan next, and from that point, the world is their oyster. Here is how they made their dream a reality, all while creating a nice side hustle for themselves, and how they say you can do it too. So it all started with a free flight to New York City. The dynamic duo graduated from college just about a year ago, but their journey into the world of travel hacking began a few years earlier. In 2015, Chad was busy looking for a coveted finance job on Wall Street while still at college in Utah. After being unable to pay for a plane ticket to New York, poor college student and all, a friend suggested he open a certain credit card and that had a bonus built into it. He ended up booking the ticket for free. So that's when the idea sparked in my mind, he told GMA. After testing the credit card waters over the next year or so, when Chad and Hannah moved to full-time last year, they went pretty hard with the points game, no kidding. They opened up dozens of credit cards and actually boosted their credit score in the process by making sure that they were only using these cards on expenses that they had to pay for anyway. That way, at the end of the month, their balances were almost always zero. We were cycling through cards the entire time, he said, and adding that at one point they had about 26 cards between them. Wow! Now we just have our 2 cards that we carry with us and use all the time. Chad said that people always assume they must have spent $200,000 or so to get these miles, but it's not true. In all, we spent around about $56,500, he said, which is still a high number, but we lived in New York City with much higher expenses, and we also started a business and were able to pay the engineer their salary using credit, leveraging our business expenses. He added that over the next year, travelling, they intend to spend around about $100 a day on expenses. Not too shabby. The story goes on, but I mean, what an amazing opportunity! What a great way to sort of, I mean, that really is playing the game, isn't it? It's just like
keeping track of that many cards.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That many
I mean, that stressed me out far too much. It's just like I've only got one, and I find it highly stressful. I don't know. It's just. I mean, it's. I suppose, Nev, I mean, you do something sort of, because obviously you're collecting points on your card, of course, when you book flights and things. I mean, it's just, but even so, I mean, this is an incredible set of numbers.
They've done all the research, haven't they, in terms of what credit card to use to get the most points, and it's quite a thing actually to try and optimize your travel. And of course, so often you take these flights and you don't get the full points. So you might take quite a long distance flight and you get sort of 5 points for it or something rather than 40 or 50. So you've got to do a lot of work beforehand to make sure you get the right numbers. But it's a great story, isn't it?
It is. It really is a sort of like, as I say, somebody successfully playing the system almost. I really rather like that.
Are you a great lover of the card point system, Adrian? Obviously, you do a lot of flying.
Yeah, I do. To be fair, I mean, they're there. You might as well use them. So, like Nev, I've got the BA card. Don't use it as much as Nev does because I tend to choose airlines occasionally. But
how rude.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah, I mean, the points there. You might as well use them and collect them when you can. But I mean, not to the extreme of these two guys. They seem to really talk it out. So, good luck to them.
Yeah, no, really playing the system. I'm rather impressed. Right, on to the next story then, please, Nev.
And it's another British Airways story, I'm pleased to say.
Surprise.
It's on the businesstraveller.com, and British Airways has announced a new code share agreement with Indian domestic carrier Vistara. The deal, which launches today for travel from the 27th of September, allows BA customers to book seats on connecting domestic services from Chennai, Mumbai and Delhi. BA currently operates double daily flights from Heathrow to Mumbai and Delhi, and a daily service to Chennai, as well as flights to Hyderabad and Bangalore. The code share expands on the existing interline and check-in partnership between the two carriers. Passengers on code share flights will be able to check their bags straight through to their final destination, will enjoy complimentary meals on Vistara sectors, and will earn Avios and tier points on BA-coded Vistara flights. Commenting on the news, Rishi Kapoor, who's BA's head of alliances, says, we have been flying to India for more than 90 years, so it's incredibly exciting for us to be able to announce this partnership with such a well-respected carrier. We have been wanting to expand our network in this region for some time, and to have Vistara on board is great news for our customers and for companies based in these important cities. Whether it's soaking up the beaches in Goa, Indian's Sunshine State, exploring Kochi, Kerala's colourful city, or taking in the temples and culture of Amritsar. This partnership opens up a whole new range of destinations for holidaymakers as well. Well, that's good, isn't it? So I think I'll be off to India at some point this year for one of our customers. So I'm going to see if I can jump on this as a
jump on the code share
service.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hadn't heard of Vistara, actually. It's not an airline I was aware of. So
I presume they're an Indian. Yeah, so they're an Indian domestic carrier, then.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, there we are. So every day is in fact a school day, as they say.
Yeah, they've got. Just look on Vistara's website. Actually, they've got on the website a nice shiny advert saying about their new code share agreement partner with BA, and they've got the picture of the two tail fins of both aircraft on their website. So
very good.
It's quite a big thing. That's good.
Yeah,
it's good. So moving on, next story, and Adrian, this one's for you.
Okay, so this is from the Grapevine, and it's told WOW Air has ranked the worst airline in the world for flight compensation.
Oh dear.
So, so Travel Help focuses on helping travellers receive compensation for flight delays. They weren't exactly full of praise for Iceland's budget airline WOW Air. Their ranking system, which rated dozens of airlines around the world for on-time performance, quality of service, and claims processing, ranked WOW pretty much last overall in all the categories. They gave a lowly 5.04 out of 10 strange score, with 7.5 on-time performance, 6 for quality, and 1.7 for claim processing. So that seems to be the main area. This means that while WOW Air does better than average when it comes to showing up on time, and granted many travellers are willing to sacrifice quality of service in exchange for lower fares, in the event your flight is delayed, you will very likely have a very tough time getting compensated for it. Incidentally, Iceland Air, its neighbour, was ranked 45th out of 72, scoring a 7.36 out of 10 on average, 7.8 for on-time performance, 6.3 for quality, and a nice 8.0 for claim processing. For the curious, Qatar was ranked best in the world overall, followed by Lufthansa, Etihad, Singapore, and South African Airways.
And South African Airways, right? Okay, I'm surprised. Yeah, So Qatar was ranked best in the world. That's a bit of a. I don't know why I find that a surprise. Really, is it? I mean, is it? I would have thought it'd been someone like Etihad or maybe even Singapore, perhaps, as number one.
But this is for, obviously, for customer flight compensation. But
oh, I see. Right, yeah. So not necessarily because of the standard of flights, but just those that, if there is a problem, the ones that are good at paying.
Have you flown WOW, Adrian, or not?
No, actually, I haven't. A couple of months ago, I did go through Iceland to the States with Iceland from Manchester and saw plenty of WOW things, but not tried them myself yet. But, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised, really, with both Icelandic companies having such a poor reputation for this training process, and seems to go against what you would think it would be like. But
okay, right.
So moving on to the next story, it's on the belfasttelegraph.co.uk, and the headline is actually, I think this is a story that, or similar story to one that I gave you guys last week. But so this is London City Airport, moving back to London City, and the headline: London City Airport setting sights on Airbus passenger plane that is that's part made in Northern Ireland.
Okay.
So a director at London City Airport has said it hopes to certify the passenger plane, the A220-300, the wings of which are made in East Belfast by Bombardier for flights. I'm not going to let you do it. For the airport. The East London Airport already uses the smaller A220-100, originally developed by Bombardier as the C Series for Swiss International Airlines. They fly to Zurich and Geneva. Liam Mackay, the airport's corporate affairs director, said it hoped to certify the larger A220-300 for use. He said then the CS100 had been crucial to its campaign for its £344 million city airport development programme, which went on to win planning permission in 2016. While developed and launched by Bombardier, the C Series is now part of Airbus after it bought a majority stake in the programme, renaming its two products the A220-100 and A220-300. Mr Mackay said that we were going for planning permission. The C Series was front and centre of that campaign because it was the embodiment of the next generation of aircraft that were quieter and more fuel efficient. All those things from a community perspective are also vital to the expansion. The CS100, now the A220-100, was performing wonderfully on its Swiss routes to Zurich and Geneva, he said, and Mr Mackay said its qualities would be a selling point for other airlines as London City adds more stands to accommodate more airlines and aircraft. For us, as we grow, we start to physically add more stands to accommodate the next generation of aircraft, and we'll be saying to airlines that this is what these airlines do, and this is how they are performing. Looking ahead, he said the airport was preparing for certification of the A220-300 because we have a short runway. The aircraft need to go through some testing to be certified to fly safely in and out of London due to the steep ascent and descent into the airport. There has to be extensive testing to make sure they can be flown safely. One of the aspirations would be to get the 300 certified, and we're promoting the 100 series and its ability and looking to get the 300 certified over the next few years. He said that the route has so far attracted 120,000 passengers this year, around a total across the whole of last year. London City Airport and airline Flybe, which flies to 15 destinations, including London City from George Best, Belfast City, this week supported a Westminster reception calling for a new deal on economy here. And it's safe to say that it's getting more of a busier airport, London City Airport, but I think they can only grow so far, Nev, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and of course the problem they've got it's right in the middle of the Docklands area, so there's not much they can do with runway capacity and runway length, so they need high performance jets to get in and out of the place. But no, it's a great story, and if they can operate it in and out of there, I'm not sure what sort of loads they're going to be getting on the aircraft, because you can, just looking at the A220 that we saw at Farnborough, that was sort of configured for about 140 seats, something like that. So they're going to have to be careful on range and that kind of stuff. But I think if they can do it, it'll be a very popular aircraft indeed.
Yeah, it's good to see that they're getting more and stuff in and out of London. It's good to see, especially for an airport such as that is, like you said, Nev, it's in a busy area. You know, there's large buildings all round that airport, and you've stayed not too far from there as well, haven't you, Matt?
What's
London
that?
City, London City Airport.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. When I've been at we've been various trade shows and things, they are very much it was quite funny because I was actually staying there with Owen. It was quite funny, in fact, because a walk that normally takes about sort of 7 or 8 minutes to get to the XL from there actually took us nearly 40 because somebody kept staring at the aeroplanes that were busy taking off every 5.
I wonder whether they fly from our regional airport to London City. I'm going to have to look that one up.
Why? Are you sort of quite keen to sort of...
Just be interested to see how much it would cost to get from the back end of nowhere where we are here in the UK to London rather than drive.
Right, okay, yeah.
Adrian, have you tried London City Airport?
No, I haven't actually. I would like to. I always kind of like that old business class flight they do to the US through Ireland. That looks interesting, but no, not had the opportunity so far.
So, Nev, the next story is one on Flight Global for you.
Yes, it is. And this is a good story in the sense because this is an aircraft which has been extremely popular over many years. And it's the Boeing 767, which is operated by IAG's Paris Orly-based brand, Open Skies. It's completed its final transatlantic service and been withdrawn from service now. The retirement marked the end of the Open Skies brand from a public-facing perspective. The 767-300ER was the last remnant of the original Paris-based transatlantic 757-767 premium operation set up by British Airways in 2008. Withdrawal of the Open Skies brand is part of the expansion of IAG's low-cost long-haul unit. The Orly operation is now run with 2 level-branded Airbus A330-200s. For the final Open Skies branded 767-300, the aircraft was operated between Orly and Newark on the 2nd of September, and after arrival back in Orly, the 28-year-old aircraft was ferried to St Athan in the UK for storage. The 189-seat 767 was transferred to Open Skies from British Airways in 2016 to operate Newark services alongside a fleet of 3 114-seat Boeing 757-200s. Flight Fleets Analyzer shows that the final Open Skies 757 was withdrawn from service on the 25th of August. When IAG last year revealed its intention to retire the Open Skies brand, it told Flight Global that Level would take over the air operator certificate of Open Skies during 2018. However, Level France confirms to Flight Global that it's currently using the AOC in the name of Open Skies. Open Skies is the operating carrier for Level France, it says. Our 2 A330s based in Orly are crewed by Open Skies staff, transitioned from one brand to the other and trained to operate on this aircraft type. Level France adds that whilst ultimately the airline might set up its own AOC, for the moment and where it makes sense, Level operates under existing IAG brands AOCs. Meanwhile, British Airways is close to completing the phase out of its 767-300ER fleet after 28 years of operation. 5 of the Rolls-Royce RB211 powered aircraft remain in operation, with the entire fleet due to be retired by November this year. And on Monday of next week, I shall be on one of those aircraft, going to Amsterdam and back in a day on one of the last 767 flights. I was supposed to go on one to Edinburgh last week. It went tech in both directions.
Right.
So we ended up on an A321, much to Captain L's amusement.
I can't imagine why he'd find that in any way vaguely amusing.
I love the 76. What an awesome workhorse. It's another one of these aircraft that's done really well for Boeing. I think it's been a real workhorse for many airlines over the years. Just looking on the history of that aircraft, that actually first flew on the 19th of November 1990.
Wow,
that particular aircraft now.
Right.
But it's great. I've had the chance to fly on one with actually Delta Airlines on the Dash 400 version of the 76. So at least it's one of those ones you can tick off the list there.
Yeah.
So the last story, and Adrian, this one's for you. This one's got some quite shocking pictures. I saw this story on the news early this week.
Yeah. So the story is many major airports are basically at near sea level. A disaster in Japan shows what can go wrong, and the photo that Carlos is alluding to is a picture of Kansai Airport in Japan, and it pretty much, I didn't even believe it was a real photo. To be
I know,
honest.
it does. It almost looks like it's been sort of photoshopped, doesn't it? It just doesn't look real.
For those not looking at it, it's basically showing the Kansai Airport, and it's pretty much covered in sand, I assume sand, and you can only just about make out the taxiways. You just about see the runway. So it's anyway. The story goes on to say, as a powerful typhoon tore through Japan this week, travellers at Kansai International Airport looked out on a terrifying void. Where they should have seen a runway, they saw only the sea. They also saw what could be a perilous future for low-lying airports around the world, increasingly vulnerable to rising sea levels and more extreme storms brought about by climate change, allegedly. A quarter of the world's 100 busiest airports are less than 10 metres or 32 feet above sea level, according to analysis of data from the Airports Council International and Open Flights. And 12 of those airports include hubs in Shanghai, Rome, San Francisco, and New York are less than 5 meters above sea level. And just carrying on from there. So, excuse me. We are trapped, said Takayuki Kabata, a web entrepreneur who'd hopped on board a Honolulu-bound plane from Kansai, a vast airport on an artificial island near Osaka. We just had to wait for the storm to blow over, scarily enough. So he... the threat from rising waters comes as a reckoning for an industry that ranks among major contributors to climate change. Air travel accounts for about 3% of greenhouse gas emissions worldwide, but is one of the fastest growing emission sources. Given current trends, emissions from international air travel will triple by 2050, the International Civil Aviation Organization has predicted. So, it is a scary situation, to be honest.
They are shocking pictures, aren't they? And whilst you were reading that story, Adrian, we also played a little video that we'd found that somebody had tweeted, and it was just literally, it was like, I suppose it's just crazy. It is just crazy. I mean, this is prior to the sand, so this was during the storm, if you like. It's just awful, really, isn't it?
It does say here that Kansai Airport was built on an artificial island, in part to minimise noise problems.
Yeah, just as I was reading, I was thinking that I'd seen a documentary on this in the past on Discovery or something, and it was built. It was an artificial island built, so very scary.
But it's going to take. I mean, looking at the damage to the actual. I mean, you can see the amount of water and sand and stuff on the taxiways and the main runway, and all the whole infrastructure of the airport is completely covered. It's going to take ages to get this sorted,
isn't it? Yeah.
It's a real shame.
They aren't going to be flying from there anytime soon, are they? That's the long and the short of it. Sadly, it's as I say, great videos though. Of that, as I say, you sort of feel sorry for anybody sort of wrapped up in it, really, but. I don't know that. I mean, what can you do about something like that? I mean, this was a freak weather event. I mean, you just can't sort of cover all bases, can you? I don't think that's even possible.
Actually, I did notice yesterday, because obviously our good friend Dr. Steph over at APG, there's quite a large storm heading towards where Dr. Steph is based in the UK, in the US, sorry. But she's, I did message her and said, are you okay? And she's going to be okay because it's not going to quite reach that far inland.
Is it not?
US,
so it should be all right.
So it should be okay. Yeah.
Thank goodness for that.
So that is where we bring the commercial news segment to a close, and we have got a very special piece coming up next, so we're going to hand things over to Nev to introduce this little segment.
Thank you very much. Yes, remember Farnborough 2018? Gosh, doesn't it seem a long time ago?
It really was a long time ago. A lot has happened in that short period of time.
Well, you may have seen all the footage that we shot there of the high-fly A380, and that's been in the news quite a bit, actually. That aircraft has been used on a lot of sectors recently, and when we were there, we had the opportunity of interviewing Philomena from Hi-Fly, who's the commercial director. But first, we see the inimitable Captain Al in the left-hand seat.
It's very familiar territory for me. one of the aspects of the whole Airbus design philosophy across all of the commercial aircraft is commonality. And here I am sitting on an A380, and so many of the aeroplane controls, functions and systems are ultimately familiar to me. I would be fairly happy to sit here and do the takeoff performance from Farnborough. All of this looks very familiar. Yes, of course, there are 4 thrust levers where I've been formerly used to having just the 2, but everything is where you'd expect to see it, and it's instantly recognisable. It is just a design philosophy that makes the transition from, say, someone who flies the A320 to the A380 as short as it possibly can be, which is good for the pilots, and of course it makes absolute commercial sense for the operators of the aircraft, because once you're rated on one Airbus, the transition to a bigger one or a smaller one is just very simple and straightforward. It's largely a differences course. One of the main differences between the later generation Airbuses and the older generation Airbuses is that the newer generation Airbuses have a QWERTY keyboard as opposed to an ABCD keyboard.
So, Philomena, tell me a little about the commercial operation of this airline.
We are wet lease specialists, and we have been operating since 2006. We operate all over the world. Our clients are all type of airlines, flag carriers, other companies also. We operate for them when they have a need for aircraft, when they have an AOG, when they need to do maintenance, big maintenance that they need an aircraft for 2-3 weeks, even longer. Or if a company wants to start a new route but doesn't want to go and fetch an aircraft without knowing if it's established, if the route is going to be a good route. And basically this is what we do.
And
which is not so easy, but this is what we do.
And this is the first time you've operated the A380?
Yes, it is the first time. Yes.
So this is going to be really interesting to see how this works commercially, and whether other people are interested in using it.
We have clients already interested in the aircraft. Of course, as you understand, I'm not going to give any details, but we do have airlines already interested in the aircraft.
And this is the largest aircraft you've ever wet leased, I would imagine.
Of course, yes. But we do have quite big aircraft, not as big as this one, but we have wide bodies. We only have one narrow body in the fleet, and that narrow body came specifically for a contract, because we don't want narrow bodies in the fleet for now. So we have A330s, we have A340, 300, 500. We already had 600 also, which is quite big. But yes, this is the biggest one.
And will you be carrying a lot of cargo as well as passengers on these services?
When it comes to cargo, it will depend on the client, not on us. We don't deal with cargo, we don't sell cargo. We don't. We just rent the aircraft to the client, and that's it. Then the client, if they have cargo, the passengers, it all belongs to the airline that contracts us. They are the ones who issue the tickets to the passengers. They are the ones who deal with the cargo. Basically, we only provide the aircraft, the crew, the maintenance, and the insurance. All the rest is the client's responsibility.
So literally after that, you're on your own, essentially, all the insurance and all that kind of thing. But after that, you're on your own, boys and girls.
God, I wonder how much that costs.
You should have asked her how much to hire her for an afternoon.
Can I hire the A380 for an afternoon?
Yeah, wouldn't it be interesting to put a request in to Highfly and say we would like to wet lease the aircraft for a week, fully crewed? How much would it cost?
Wow. Yeah.
I think we'd need a few million Patreon donators.
Are you suggesting you're right? You're suggesting we may not be earning enough to do that? I can't imagine what you mean.
We could probably buy a seat.
I'm not even sure we could do that, could we? Depends on where it's going. I mean, if it's flying into Norwich from here, maybe. You know, if it's flying Beccles to Norwich, can you imagine
A380 flying into Norwich, and that would be
Well, I think
good.
it'd get into Norwich, you wouldn't get out again.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No.
You just have to dismantle it. But no.
No, that was good. Well done.
But great
Good
piece
work,
as
Nev.
always, Nev. Thanks for that.
Yeah, and
Oh,
thanks,
Tom,
Captain
yeah.
Al. Yeah,
I feel because given how difficult it was to get, because I mean, me and Owen desperately tried to get on the A380, and I mean, security was, I think it's fair to say, insanely tight. Is that not a fair assumption, Nev?
Yeah, they were, and I'm not really sure how we managed it ourselves, but I think when you've got the fluffy mic and the slightly pro-looking camera, I think it was
absolutely.
it was definitely a help. to us.
Never mind who's behind it, operating it. You know, that's you know, it's just like it was. Yes, I mean, well, that camera and your marvelous muff, sir, have got us some fantastic content thus far already.
I just think that these guys, they just see Nev and just think, oh, did you see that? That's Nev.
Yes,
that's
it's the
Neville
legend that
Bounds.
is. It is the legend it is.
Yeah.
It's Sir Neville of Bounds.
We
yes,
must let
indeed.
them on board. Give them anything they want.
Right. Okay. Yes, including maybe a coffee or a
tea.
Anyway,
Yes.
shall we move on?
Yes. So moving on, we have
Okay.
we've got as I said, we've got later on, we've got another awesome piece from Nev, and we've also got a planes safety segment as well from Pip. But first, we
Indeed.
are going to do some military news. If everyone's ready.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Here we are.
Let's go. And so Matt, by the time that this show is at the end of the show, Matt's going to sit here and play with all his levels because they've all gone completely to pot.
Don't worry.
Anyway,
So we got a few stories sent in by various listeners this week,
we have,
and this one is on the Times of India. And this one is all
not
regarding,
one I know.
in regards to a Indian Air Force MiG-27 that crashes in Rajasthan. There we go.
Glad you had that one. Yes.
Well, the pilot is safe.
Good,
So
good.
New Delhi, this one, an Indian Air Force MiG-27 crashed on Tuesday near Jodhpur in Rajasthan during routine mission, and the pilot ejected safely. The Indian Air Force has ordered a court of inquiry into the crash, and the Indian Air Force still has 2 squadrons of the ageing MiG-27 fighter planes that are slated for retirement next year. In June, a MiG-27 upgrade aircraft on a routine mission sortie crashed in the residential area of Jodhpur, and in that crash, the pilot, flying officer Kadpal, ejected safely seconds before the aircraft crashed, and there was no loss of human lives at the site of the crash. 2 houses and a vehicle parked nearby suffered major damages, and the aircraft crashed barely 50 metres from the spot where the pilot himself had a narrow brush with death while ejecting out of an electric transformer in the local Bharat temple. Last November, another Indian Air Force MiG-27 fighter plane's tyre burst while landing, after which it got stuck on the runway at Jodhpur Airport. The incident involves a MiG-27, and while landing, the aircraft's tyres burst and there was some problem with its landing gear. As a result, the plane's nozzle hit the ground. It's taking longer than expected to sort things out with the said aircraft. Another incident affected the MiG-27 in January 2015 when on a routine mission sortie from Jodhpur Air Base to Uttari. It crashed in Rajasthan's Barmer while a fraction of it fell onto a passing motorcyclist. That's unfortunate.
Ouch.
The injured man was on his way to a village, apparently, for a wedding. I don't know where that matters, but the pilot again ejected safely. So it's safe to say that the MiG-27, I think, is probably due for retirement if it's having this amount of issues, I should say. But at least the pilot did eject safely out of the said aircraft. But there are, if you go to on the Times of India website, there is a video on there. You can see the damage and the wreckage of the aircraft, and Matt's just playing out on there pilot looks quite chilled out.
Chilled
actually,
out,
considering
yeah. He's probably just having a lie
ejected
down,
from
isn't he?
a,
Yeah, absolutely.
in a crashing MiG-27. He looks fairly well there.
Yeah.
So next story, Matt, if you're ready, is on the Flight Global site.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and it is. It's a picture story. So
It's a tanker story.
Yeah, it's a picture story. So thanks for that, Carlos. He's forgotten that I'm the one that puts the pictures up, hasn't he? There we are. Anyway, so Singapore's first A330 tanker makes public debut. So I'll put the pictures up in a minute when I finish. The Republic of Singapore's Air Force's first Airbus A330 multi-role tanker / transport made its public debut on the 1st of September, taking part in the service's 50th anniversary parade. Sporting special anniversary markings and the service registration 761, the adapted wide-body had been flown to Singapore's Shanghai West Air Base in mid-August from Airbus Defence and Space's modification site in Getafe, near Madrid. The nation will eventually field a 6-strong fleet of the tanker transports as replacements for its ageing Boeing KC-135Rs. Airbus says that the refuelling boom and underwing hose and drogue-equipped type will also provide the nation's Air Force with greater cargo and passenger transport capabilities and enhance its ability to contribute to international humanitarian assistance and disaster relief and peace support operations. So it's going to be a useful piece of kit by the sound of it. As long as they is this the aircraft that's been having the problems with its refueling booms and things, or am I thinking of something else?
No, that's a 400 A400M.
Right,
They had the
okay.
issues with that.
Oh, was it?
I just noticed actually the picture on here that's on the site. You know how we always joke and laugh about the fact that it's all grey stuff.
Yes, it is very grey, this one.
But this
Yes.
the Japan the Singapore Air Force here appears to they paint theirs in an even greyer grey.
Yes, it's an even grey. It's a darker grey.
It's a darker grey.
Absolutely, yeah. You couldn't get much more grey, could you?
So moving
Indeed.
on to the next one, and Nev, this one is for you. This one on Flight Global again.
Yeah, it is, and it's about the Boeing, which marks the first big defence win in more than a decade with the MQ-25A. And on 31st of August, the US Navy awarded the Arlington, Virginia-based division an $805 million contract to develop 4 MQ-25A Stingray carrier-based unmanned refueling aircraft. The fixed-price incentive firm target contract provides for the design, development, fabrication, test, delivery and support of the MQ-25A unmanned vehicles, including integration into the carrier air wing for an initial operational capability by 2024. The US Navy could ultimately buy as many as 72 of these UAVs for a total spend of up to $13 billion. By winning the UAV tanker contract, Boeing beat proposals from Lockheed Martin and General Atomics or Aeronautical Systems. Both of those companies chose not to build a prototype before the award was announced, whilst Boeing manufactured a full-scale and functional aircraft which demonstrated carrier deck taxiing but has not yet made its initial flight. Boeing has also hedged its bets by joining General Atomics' bid as a subcontractor in an undeclared capacity, a sign of how hungry the manufacturer was to win this latest defense contract. Boeing has been shut out of several big deals in recent years, including losing the contract to build the US Air Force's long-range strike bomber in 2015 to Northrop Grumman, and the Joint Strike Fighter to Lockheed Martin in 2001. As a result, defense revenues at the company have fallen by more than a third, from $32 billion in 2007 to $21 billion in 2017. It's a high priority win for Boeing, says Phil Finnegan, who's the director of corporate analysis at Teal Group. It positions them in a medium altitude, long endurance, unmanned aerial system. That's an important market segment. Meanwhile, medium-altitude, long-endurance UAVs are projected to be the second largest segment of the unmanned aircraft market, worth $22 billion between 2017 and 2026, according to the Teal Group's analysis. The largest segment will be unmanned combat aerial vehicles, worth $27.1 billion. billion over the same period, it says. Well, it's quite a big win, isn't it? And of course, they're talking these numbers, $27 billion here and there and 13 billion. I mean, these are eye-watering sums, but it's clearly a very interesting development.
I'll tell you what, it looks very space agey. I was popping some of the pictures up, specifically of the Stingray that they've made, and it does look very much. It reminds me of the old.
Me and our Captain Al saw this at Farnborough.
Yeah, it reminds me very much. Was it the old? Is it the old Blackbird? It looks very much like that did with its sort of. Do you know what I mean? It's like the sort of. I say they call it the pictures that I was looking at here. They call it the Stingray, and you can see where it got its name from, because it does look like a stingray that you'd find at the bottom of the sea, as it were.
But it's good. We had a little chat with the guys in the Boeing suite at Farnborough this year, me and Captain Al, and they had one of these models on display of this particular MQ-25, and the whole background and the idea of it is quite awesome, because it is an unmanned refueling platform,
literally
which
a drone.
Because normally the unmanned aerial drones are normally used for surveillance and and other sort of missions as such, but you don't really sort of think of them as being refueling platforms carrying fuel for other jets. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So the last story is a bit of a feel-good story for the last one, and Adrian, this is quite a nice little story here.
Yeah, it's a great little story. So it's from the Sunday Express, and the title is RAF Hero Flies Again, aged 99. So one of the last surviving Battle of Britain pilots has taken to the skies for a final time at the age of 99 in an iconic Spitfire. So Ace Archie McKine, hope I got his name right, is one of only 6 living RAF pilots who took part in the Battle of Britain against Hitler's Luftwaffe, and was in what was Prime Minister Winston Churchill called the Few. The hero who lost an arm after being shot down in a dogfight returned to the skies last week in a Second World War Spitfire. The two-seater operated from the Battle of Britain Museum in Hawkinge, Kent, was also joined by a one-seater Hurricane, which was actually the plane, the type that Archie flew in the Battle of Britain. So the hero who lives near Cambridge beamed with joy as he saw his beloved Hurricane flying on the wing of the Spitfire. And yeah, actually you can see that picture there. It looks incredible. Picture of him during the Battle of Britain time, and one of him from last week. So the flight was organised and photographed by his pal Johnny Cracknell, working for the Battle of Britain Museum. Johnny said, "There are only 8 Battle of Britain airmen left, and Archie is the most active. I managed to get him up in the Spitfire, and it was amazing. It was unbelievable and surreal experience to see Archie back in the Spitfire again, and the smile on his face when he spotted the Hurricane was priceless." So it goes on to say again, there are only 6 pilots and 2 aircrew left from the thousands who risked everything to protect Britain from the Nazis. And there's a nice picture there of the 2 planes together. Yeah. So Archie joined the RAF in 1938, the year before the war, and completed training in 1940. He flew Hurricanes as part of the 601 Squadron in Exeter before moving to the 238 Squadron at Chilbolton in Hampshire. So after the Battle of Britain ended in 1940, Archie's career took him to sea on board the HMS Victorious, where he was part of the team that hunted the Bismarck. Archie then took part in the North African campaign, where he was shot down and lost his arm. There's another photo there of Archie with the plane. So like Carla said, a real great story. I mean, to imagine him going back up at age 99 in a Spitfire.
I mean, it must be one of mixed feelings for him, though, mustn't it? All jokes aside, because I mean that really. I mean, if you ever suffered from sort of what they call, I think they call it the post-traumatic stress syndrome. I mean, you never quite know that. I mean, that must be a really difficult. I mean, it's such an iconic image. The Spitfire in all circumstances is such an iconic image, isn't it? It must. I say, real mixed feelings for him, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, I watched the video. There's a video that I don't know if it's on this website. There's the video that was filmed of him in the Spitfire, and then you see him looking across to his left and seeing the Hurricane flying beside him, and the look on his face, honestly, that was priceless. He was so chuffed. And to be able to give someone, especially of 99 young years, the opportunity to do this
to give that a go again.
So good.
Absolutely. It's really good. What a lovely story to
could I be a killjoy?
Oh no!
Go on then.
Why did they have to have burnt-in time code on that video?
I don't know. I honestly don't know, because I thought I was doing something wrong here. But yeah, I know. Such a shame, really, isn't it? 'Cause, a lovely video. That's why I aborted it in the end and just went for the pictures, because it's a lovely video. But yeah, for some reason. And it's nice to know. Great news, everyone. It's 25 frames a second as well, in case anybody else was wondering.
I'm glad of that.
Yeah.
Not 29.9.
No, sadly not. No. Yes, I'm with you on that one, Nev. But there we are. It was worth it, because it was still an incredible video.
Yes,
it
it was
really was.
And it's sad that we've got, that obviously the years have gone by, and there's less and less of these pilots still alive now. Very sad.
It's sort of cruel. Life is cruel, I think, is the best way to do it. But
so that is where we bring the military segment to a close, and we're going to hand things back over to Nev again, because Nev has been busy with his amazing camera and his muff. And we're going to go on. Tell us, Nev, what have you been doing with these bits of equipment?
Well, it's always good news when I get my equipment out, isn't it? And
well, apparently
this
so.
time I went down to Brighton on the south coast, and I know this is a bit of a tenuous, flying experience, Nev's passenger experience,
right, okay.
but it is described as a flight, and it is operated by British Airways. So I thought, well, what a great opportunity to go down there, because the weather was great, and shot some footage, and here it is. Hello everyone, it's Nev here again with a slightly different Nev's passenger experience segment this time. On the 1st of September, Mrs. Nev and I took a trip on the British Airways I360, which is a 162-metre observation tower on the seafront of Brighton, East Sussex in England, at the landward end of the former West Pier. This was a wedding gift from one of my very best industry colleagues, Inesh Patel, and we were delighted with it, and just to make it even nicer, the weather was absolutely perfect, as you can see. The tower itself opened on the 4th of August 2016. From the fully enclosed viewing pod, visitors experience 360-degree views across Brighton, the South Downs, the English Channel, and on the clearest days it's possible to see Beachy Head, 27 kilometres to the east, and the Isle of Wight, 79 kilometres to the west. The BA I360 was designed, engineered, manufactured and promoted by the team responsible for the London Eye. It's estimated by the developers that the I360 will generate more than 440 permanent jobs, 160 posts at the attraction, and additional jobs from the spin-off benefits to other businesses in the city. The attraction cost £46 million, with £36 million being funded by a public works loan. Formerly known as the Brighton I360, the project aims to attract 739,000 paying visitors each year. The owner of the site, the West Pier Trust, hoped in 2014 that a successful I360 would lead to the rebuilding of the historic West Pier. Pod flights depart every 30 minutes with rides lasting approximately 20 to 25 minutes. The glass viewing pod itself is fully enclosed and spacious. It's 10 times the size of a London Eye capsule. There is room for up to 175 visitors to stand at the edge of the pod and look out, or to move around and see the view from different angles. The Sky Bar on board the pod serves Nye Timber sparkling wine and other drinks from Sussex, so you can raise a glass of something special whilst taking in the views. BA's in-flight crew welcome you on board, point out landmarks and answer any questions that you may have. The pod is heated and air-conditioned to ensure year-round comfort, and it is fully accessible for wheelchair users. A viewing map is available, and a multilingual app can be downloaded before you board. The app itself has pre-flight information about how British Airways I360 was built, as well as an in-app viewing map and a children's section with fun facts and a treasure hunt. The content can be enjoyed in a choice of languages, including English, French, German, Spanish, Italian, Dutch, Portuguese, Russian, Japanese and Mandarin. All in all, this was a fantastic experience, and I would absolutely recommend this to anyone that's planning on visiting the south coast of England. Once again, my heartfelt thanks to my friend Inesh for treating Mrs. Nev and I to such a special trip.
Oh, that looked like a huge amount of fun, Nev.
Yeah,
It was, and you also got to hear the full Nev's passenger experience.
I know.
Theme
We never
as
hear
well.
that. Absolutely.
But no, it was a great day out, and I really do recommend it. It's absolutely fascinating to see how many people they can get in this thing. I think it was 175 people, but
That's a lot of
really
people.
superb. So I would definitely recommend that to everyone.
Now we have got... hello.
You're right, Adrian.
Adrian's collapsing.
Fallen over. Yeah.
We have got a couple of very important questions from the chat room for you, actually, Nev.
Oh, no.
First one's from Neil Lamborn. He says, what are the bar prices like?
Yeah, they were a bit on the high side. We didn't actually buy any drinks whilst we were there, but I would imagine they're going to be pretty hefty, I would say.
Yeah.
And Pilot Pip has asked the all-important question, can you use Avios points?
No, sadly not. No, you've got to use real money to buy it, and you don't earn any Avios points either, I don't think. So, no, it's a cash transaction. But as it was a gift, I don't actually know how much it was.
Right. Okay.
But I don't think it's that expensive. I think it's pretty good. And no, I think it's a very good attraction.
Yeah, absolutely. No, great.
It looks good.
Yeah, definitely. As I say, well, you're high enough up. I suppose it does qualify as sort of flying.
Sort of flying.
You fly upwards, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed.
So we have got a very important segment that's been sent in by Pilot Pip for the show this week. He tends to send us, one in, on the flight, one every 6 years. Yeah. And
that's very unfair.
On that point, Pip, we're waiting for the next plane safety podcast episode. When's it going to be coming out?
Yes.
Anyway.
Well, I actually details of that I think do actually appear in this.
Okay.
So this is a bit of a precursor to a forthcoming episode that he's got in production.
So we're going to hand things over then to the awesome chap that is Pilot Pip.
Plane safety from the flight deck with Pilot Pip.
Hi everyone, I'm here with a little taster segment, a little amuse-bouche, if you like, for an upcoming episode of the Plane Safety Podcast, planesafetypodcast.com. As some of you will know, apart from flying, one of my other great passions is astronomy and the night sky and space physics and all that sort of stuff. So something that's been rumbling around in my head for a long, long time is to somehow combine the two and to produce an episode on celestial navigation, astronavigation, using the night sky, the natural environment to navigate. Now, I'm very much an amateur at this. It's a little bit of a hobby, but I thought I'd just give you a little taster for it. Now, aviation and navigating and the night sky go hand in hand together. Going back to the very beginnings of aviation, those pioneering flyers, aviators back in the day, knew intimately the night sky and the stars and the movements of the sun and the moon and how to use those to navigate across the world. And in fact, even before that, going back hundreds, if not thousands of years, the early navigators traveling across the Atlantic, the original Hawaiians traveled across thousands of miles of the Pacific Ocean from Tahiti to find their current native land. So this is not a new thing. And actually, rather disappointingly, or rather sadly perhaps, we've in the modern day really lost touch with using our natural environment to navigate by. In fact, many of us, I suspect, are totally unfamiliar with the night sky, which is a great shame, I think. So in this little short segment, I'm just going to give you a couple of hints. Now, you don't need to be an expert to navigate your way around the night sky or to use the night sky, just to get some basic information. You can easily, within just a few minutes and just a little bit of basic know-how, use the night sky to find east and west, north and south, which hemisphere you're in, which latitude you're at. And in fact, I'm going to give you just a little hint now, just a little short technique on how to work out your latitude, i.e. how far north or south you are on the planet. So if you suddenly woke up from a coma one day in the pitch black and you looked up at the night sky, you could use this technique to give you a rough idea of perhaps where roughly on the planet you are. Now, this comes with a little caveat. When whoever it was, they were, whatever it was, created the universe and the night sky, they looked at us and thought, well, those people in the southern hemisphere, the Australians and the Kiwis and everyone else, well, they're pretty clever people. They don't need any big hints in the night sky. But those northern folk, those Brits and Europeans and Americans, they're going to be pretty dumb. So we're going to need to put some great big signposts in the sky for them to use. So rather luckily, in the night sky in the northern hemisphere, we have a star which we call Polaris, or the North Star, which is very conveniently located almost exactly directly above our North Pole. And we can use that to establish our latitude. So let's just take a step back for a second. Imagine, if you will, a ball, a sphere. Yes, flat earthers, get over it. The Earth is a sphere. Imagine that sphere inside a much larger sphere. So we're on that center sphere, that center ball, that's the Earth, and projected onto the inside edge of this much larger sphere is the night sky. Now, as we all know, when we look up at the night sky, the thousands of stars that we see, some of them are in fact quite close to us. When I say close, I mean 10, 20 light years away. Others are much, much further away, thousands of light years away. But actually, that really doesn't matter when it comes to this particular topic. We can think of them all on a inside of a two-dimensional surface. And so if you take a line from the very center of the Earth and extend it upwards through our exact North Pole, and then continue that line up to infinity, up to the inside edge of this much larger sphere, it will almost exactly touch Polaris, our North Pole. Now, actually, Polaris, our North Star, isn't exactly coincident with the North Pole, but it's within less than a degree. So if you're doing things like astrophotography, as I'm another hobby of mine, I'm again very much a beginner, but if you want to take long duration exposures of the night sky, you need to have a very accurate tracking telescope or tracking camera. So you do need to adjust ever so slightly for the fact that Polaris isn't exactly above the North Pole, but as they say, it's close enough for government work. It's within about a degree or so. So what that means is, as you look at the night sky, everything seems to rotate around Polaris. Polaris will maintain its position in the night sky, whereas everything else will move in a circle around it. And of course, actually, that's just the movement of the Earth. The stars, in the short term at least, aren't really moving. Just an interesting side note, right now Polaris is our North Star. It won't always be, and it hasn't always been. The Earth is tilted ever so slightly, 23.5 degrees off its axis, and like any sort of spinning top, it does wobble a little bit. So over very long periods of time, we're talking tens and tens or hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years in fact, the appearance of the stars does change ever so slightly. So, in 500,000 years or so, Polaris will not be our North Star. It would have shifted somewhere else. Anyway, I'm waffling. Now, because of the fact that Polaris is almost exactly above our North Pole, then it gives an immediate indication of your latitude on the Earth. From whichever point in the Northern Hemisphere you are viewing it, that angle between the horizon and the Polaris in your night sky, in your location, that angle is your latitude. It corresponds exactly with your latitude. Or in other words, how far south of the North Pole you are. By convention, we call the North and South Pole 0 degrees, and the equator, halfway in between them, is 90 degrees. So job one of this little technique is to find the North Star, to find Polaris in the night sky. And as I said, those people, whoever he, she, it was that created the universe, if you believe in that sort of thing, gave us a great big signpost in the sky, which rather conveniently points directly to the North Pole. So what you need to do is go out into the night sky. Anywhere in the Northern Hemisphere will do. You Southerners, I'm sorry, but you're smart. You've got your own methods of doing this. Go out into the night sky. Anywhere above around 40 degrees north, this signpost is visible throughout the year. I'm talking about Ursa Major, the Great Bear. It has different names around the world. In the UK, we call it the Plough. In America, they call it the Big Dipper, which I believe is some sort of deep fat frying saucepan. Trust the Americans to look at something beautiful like the night sky and immediately think of fried food. But you need to find the Big Dipper, but it's a very obvious asterism in the night sky. It's a very obvious pattern. And as I say, it's visible all year round in the night sky. It's a circumpolar above the mid-northern latitudes, but it's visible, most of it is visible from most of the northern hemisphere all throughout the year. So go out, It's pretty easy to find. It's made up of 7 bright stars. It looks like a great big saucepan. The 7 big stars, if you're interested, are called, going from the left-hand side as you view it, the handle of the saucepan, if you like, Alkaid, Mizar, Aolith, and then the body of the saucepan is Margrez, Fezda, Marek, and Dubé. I'm not entirely sure of the pronunciation of that last one, actually. But it's those last 2 stars, Marek and Dubé. This is the far right-hand edge of the saucepan. If you draw a line extending upwards from those 2 stars, follow the line up, and the first bright star you get to is Polaris. It's ever so slightly to the right of that extended line, but it's super easy to find. Now, depending on exactly what time of night you're out there looking at it, you might find that the Ursa Major, the Big Dipper, the plough is on its side. It might be upside down. It might be pointing this way or that way. But actually, it doesn't matter because all the stars appear to be rotating around the North Pole. So that alignment won't ever change. So those last 2 stars on the right of the plough, extend that line upwards, and the first bright star you get to is Polaris, our North Star. So now you've found the North Star, you just need to work out what that angle is between your local horizon and Polaris. Now, the best way to do this would be to use a sextant or some other angle measuring device. Now, sextants, actually, you can buy them on Amazon for not that much money, and they're great fun to play with. You can even better, even more fun, is you can make your own one. You can buy cardboard kits. Great project to do with the kids, and you can make a reasonably accurate sextant. So perhaps you might have a go at that. It's good fun. But if you haven't got a sextant to hand, as most of us probably haven't, well, actually it's quite easy to approximate that angle, to work it out pretty roughly by using your fists. Now, everyone's got different size fists and different length arms, but if you hold your fist out at arm's length, that angular distance that your fist covers is about 10 degrees. So if you play, 1 potato, 2 potato with your fist, if you level out, get one fist on the horizon, and then start counting fists upwards, each fist is about 10 degrees. So when you get up to the Polaris, stop and then take a sort of an estimate of exactly where Polaris is on your fist, and that will be your latitude. Dead simple. So for me, if I stand in my back garden, I can count up 1 fist, 2 fists, 3 fists, 4 fists, 5 fists, 5 and a bit fists. It's about 52 degrees north. Give it a go tonight on the next clear night. Go out, have a look, see if you can work it out, and then just compare it with your iPhone or something and see how close your estimate of your latitude is. And that's just one super easy little tip for using the night sky to orientate yourself, to navigate. If you got the know-how, the knowledge, a little bit of maths, not too complicated, and some tools like a sextant, you can use the night sky, the moon and the sun to perform some truly magnificent feats of navigation. You can navigate your way across the entire globe with pinpoint accuracy. So hopefully I'll be discussing that in a little bit more depth on an upcoming episode. But for now, this is just a little taster. Hope you enjoyed that. Go out, have a look at the night sky and give it a go. Until the next time, everybody, take care and fly safe.
All that old school tech to navigate. I'll just use my Waze app on the phone.
When you got all that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but you still have to learn it, don't you? I mean, when you're learning to fly and stuff.
Oh yeah, you still have your old school
wheels
whiz
stuff,
wheel
and
maps and stuff, which Adrian will know all too well about.
Yeah. Oh dear.
We're not going to go into any conversations about our navigation flights that we
do you know what? I can't help but feel that there's a little bit of an in joke with the rest of us humble mortals. Nev, I'm feeling a bit left out of the loop here a bit.
I don't know what he's talking about.
All I'm going to say on that.
We had an interesting mission, I think.
all I'm going to
strangely enough.
I know. All I want to say, though, is that I really wanted to see Alton Towers from the sky, but never actually got to see it from the sky.
It doesn't exist, Carlos. It doesn't exist. It's not real. We looked everywhere for it.
We did look everywhere.
It was a hill, actually.
I'm quite sure Merlin Entertainment will disagree with you.
In our defence, though, there was a rather nasty storm front coming in, wasn't there? We had to get back.
See, Nev, all I'm hearing is excuses. I don't.
They did actually excuse in early, aren't they?
Yeah, it's quite right.
actually get a terrain warning as well if you remember, Carlos.
Anyway, yeah, we are live, gentlemen. Perhaps I should just remind you, we are live, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway,
I'll just like to point out that Adrian is an awesome pilot, and he's a great chap to go flying with.
Yeah, all part of the fun.
Yeah.
All part of the fun.
So thanks for that, Pip. It's very kind of you to send that across to us, and we hope to hear the latest episode of the Plane Safety Podcast ASAP.
www.planesafetypodcast.com, as he said at the top of the segment there, if you want to catch his latest episode.
So, Adrian, we obviously we've got you on the show as a guest, and we haven't spoken to you for a while, but you've been. It's safe to say you have done quite a bit of flying in various airlines and various parts of the aircraft, as in first and business and premium. So how's it all been?
Yeah, great. As you know, I've got my own company, so I've been pretty busy sort of travelling across the States mainly, probably every 6 weeks, something like that. And I think I've explored almost every airline and every class going, obviously from a cost point of view, you always want to sort of go the best, but you have to start working your way down the list. But no, I've had some interesting flights this last sort of 6 or 8 months. Yeah.
So any particular airlines stand out for you then, Adrian, for service? For service, I was lucky enough to upgrade and go Virgin Upper Class, so that was a nice experience from Manchester to Atlanta. Yeah. And that was an interesting flight. You know, they've got the bar on board, and without too much name dropping, I ended up surreally drinking whiskey with face off the A-team on a plane.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not sure. I think Carlos has probably seen the photo.
I've seen the picture, yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. So that was good. That was one of the better moments. And I mean, I must admit the Virgin upper class product is great, and I really wish I could fly upper class all the time. But
did you get the little macaroons?
I generally aim for premium economy with Virgin or BA. It's, I think, value for money wise, it's great. And then occasionally I upgrade with miles or through luck or whatever. Or if I'm feeling really really tired, then occasionally I pay money and upgrade, but not all the time.
No, I bet. I mean, we'd all love to do it, wouldn't we? But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, these prices are eye-watering, aren't they? I mean, and even you've got to be pretty tired to want to sort of stick that on the old credit card, don't you? It's,
Yes, yeah, absolutely. The problem is, as Nev knows, once you've turned left, you want to keep turning left on the plane, and that's a real dilemma. So you spend your time on the internet trying to find bargain business flights, and I've tried them all. I've done the Icelandic Manchester through Reykjavik to JFK with the Saga class, which I've got to be honest, it's kind of advertised as business class, but I don't think the seats are any bigger than premium economy, if I'm being totally honest about it. So I mean, it's a good price, but I wouldn't class it as business. I think value for money, I would have to say Norwegian was a great flight.
Was that on the Dreamliner, Adrian?
It was indeed, yeah. I had to, in fact, I was down in London anyway, so it wasn't a problem, but I flew out of Gatwick to Fort Lauderdale. I was in Miami for a conference, and so, yeah, one of Steph's conferences. But,
right, okay.
So I booked the Norwegian, which again is advertised as business. I would class it as premium economy, but I've got to say it was, being the Dreamliner, and the seats were really nice. The service was great, and I can't remember the price now, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good, to be fair. I did like it. And then the other end, a couple of months ago, I had to get back from the States in a bit of a rush and change my tickets, and I ended up on a full economy Thomas Cook flight from Orlando back to Manchester, so that was interesting.
Was that a 330? Guessing that was a 330?
It was indeed a 330, yeah. But I managed to get some extra legroom seats, and I've got to be honest, it was good. It was good. Again, I think it literally was a few £100. I think it was 300 and something pounds, back from Orlando to Manchester. So it was okay, but. Yeah, I've tried them all, as I'm sure most of you spend your time kind of on the internet, like I said, just searching and trying to find the best deals. And yeah, it's okay. But I try to generally go from Manchester, so Virgin's always the kind of first one that comes up. To go with BA, I have to go through Heathrow, which is no bad thing. It's quite nice, quick transit through Ned's Terminal 5, and yeah, it's good. Yeah, but so yeah, I've been doing lots of commercial flying, not so much GA flying. Yes, I am allegedly a pilot, but I've not been on much recently. But I do want to put that right soon. So.
Yeah, because you obviously had your own aircraft, Shady Lady, the Cessna. The 150 when you had, but unfortunately you've parted company with her.
Indeed, yeah, yes. As you know, I think a year and a half ago, my friend and I went and bought when we both got our licenses. We went out and bought a Cessna 150, and yeah, I couldn't exactly recommend the experience. I think I think it's a good way to lose a lot of money very, very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, the cost they just keep stacking up. The annual, the 6 month, the hangar fees. Some reason we keep having to have the nose wheel replaced, the seals in it. So must be just something about our landings, I guess. I don't know. It's no, it's not the cheapest thing in the world, and eventually my friend and I reached the conclusion that we would be a lot better just hiring them from the local airfield.
Yeah, and I suppose in reality that's almost like I suppose it's a sensible thing to do. So especially given how busy you are, of course you're not able to do the amount of GA flying that you would have liked, and of course, as you say, if you're not able to do that, of course you've got a very expensive piece of kit just sitting around doing nothing. Because
yes, and even with, it's not just the hangar fees that keep on coming if you don't fly. Like I said, the 6 monthly, the annual, the bills just keep coming, irrelevant if you're flying the thing or not. So
well, and if you're not doing as much flying as you hope, then as you say, almost renting a club plane, as all right. So you are paying sort of, one might argue, you are paying over the odds, if you like, for that privilege. But if you work that out over how much it's costing you while it's sat on the ground, and you're not able to fly it. I suppose it sort of swings and roundabouts, isn't it? It's
yes, you're exactly right. I mean, if I actually added up or took the cost per hour,
don't do that. No,
I don't even want to do.
No, don't do it.
That's right. The wife's not watching.
Yeah.
Go on.
But I'm pretty sure I could have hired Pilot Pip.
Oh right, okay, gone for the ultimate in luxury.
I've done, so. Yeah. No, it was. I guess it was one of those experiences. You just, like all things in life, you have to go through it sometimes. But
to know what's best at the end.
To know what's best, and no, I think just hiring one from the local airfield is by far the best.
Absolutely. Which is an awesome field. Taton Hill, where close to where Adrian, or where you are, Adrian, is like it just blew me away how blinking nice that airfield is.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful GA field. Loads of room, really nice clubhouse. Yeah, you're lucky there, Adrian.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so it's got a great runway, a nice long one. Luckily for me, so it's good. I like it.
Will you stop putting yourself down?
Practice, that's all. So,
yeah. So have you got any planned for soon, Adrian? You're going to take the Piper or the Cessna up for the club?
Yeah, I think I'll definitely stick with the Pipers now. So I did do a conversion to Piper and took one up a few times earlier in the year. So I'll just do a quick lap, a couple of laps with my instructor just to refresh, and then I'll start hiring one of the PAs. They've got five PAs, so various variants of them. So yeah, I'm pretty lucky there. Got a nice airfield, nice planes to hire, pretty good price. So it's good. Yeah.
I must admit, I'm rather liking Ben's comment in the chat room there. He says, "You don't fly GA for the price. You fly because you can." I think that's fair.
Yeah, but it also gets to the point where you're almost scared to fly it because you're going to break it,
Right. So. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, no. It was good fun. It was good fun. I don't regret it. You should never regret these things in life. But definitely experiences. And yes, my wife Jill, she didn't fully realise how much it was costing.
Right. No, fine. Okay, we'll gloss over that and move on.
Yes.
Absolutely. We'll pretend that conversation.
On the subject of the Cessna and obviously the PA, obviously one's a low wing and the Cessna's the high wing. Obviously, what's your preference? Because obviously you've flown both, low or high wing.
Interesting. Different, that's for sure. I was surprised how different it was. I mean, as you know, with the low wing, you when you're kind of just about to land, I mean, it just sits and floats there. It's really strange. But I think I mean, the visibility in the higher wing's better. So, and the Cessna's much easier to fly, I would say, to set it up for landing. I mean, they're pretty much coming on its own, you know, they're easy. But for the extra power, the extra space, definitely the PA. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Which you've had the chance of flying. You flew in that, didn't you, Matt?
What's that?
Yeah. The PA. You flew in Captain
Al's
PA,
didn't I?
you?
Yes, absolutely. That was a real. I mean, the trouble is, having never been in a Cessna, I suppose I've got that's my only GA experience. So I hadn't really got anything to sort of compare it with. But
no, I mean, if you or myself flew in a Cessna, I think cozy. I think would be the word, Matt. I think.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's all right. Yeah. You're suggesting it may pay to know each other in order.
Yes.
To
Absolutely. We certainly would afterwards.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Yeah.
Nev, you got any questions for Adrian at all?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, actually, Adrian, in terms of the cost of doing these trips. I mean, let's be honest, you know, it's very rare to get good deals on flights these days, especially in premium economy. But I just think that they can fill every single flight. There are very few flights these days that have lots of empty seats, and I think that's because there are fewer flights at the moment, and they know that they can fill all the seats. What would, out of all the aircraft and all the operators that you've been on in the last few months, what would you say was the best experience for you?
I've got to be honest, Virgin and BA are pretty close, I would say. Overall, I probably just about prefer Virgin. I'm sorry to say that, but but I'm not, and I've got to be honest with BA. I've had a lot of upgrades with BA, sort of free upgrades. So they've been good to me. There's no question about that. We've a few times I've flown to the States, one with my daughter, and they upgraded us both into business from premium there and back. So I can't criticise BA in that sense, but if you take the overall package, the service from the staff, etc., I'd say Virgin just slightly edged it. But again, I'll go back to Norwegian. I think value for money. It's
and
great.
how does that compare? So let's do a direct comparison, say between BA and Virgin. So you're saying you're getting in the main you're getting a betting experience from Virgin. How does that compare price wise? I mean, are you getting better value for money as well?
Oh, it's a tricky one, as Nev's probably looked many times. It really depends. Sometimes BA seems cheaper, sometimes Virgin seems slightly cheaper, but as Nev alluded to earlier, the flights are pretty much full now, so I think they can set quite a good price, and they know they're going to sell the ticket. Whereas I can remember 15 years ago, you quite often go across the States on a plane, and you wouldn't need to go in business because you could almost guarantee you get 3 or 4 seats next year that would be empty to lie across. But no way these days. I mean, they're pretty much sold, sell every ticket. Yeah. So
I mean, it's great. It's great news for aviation, isn't it? Really, if you think, I mean, if these routes are well sold, then it means that at least the flights will continue going, I suppose, and especially in your case, Adrian, where you are having to go over to the States regularly, obviously for work. I mean, you need these routes to sort of be earning their keep, I suppose, really.
That's exactly right. Yeah. But I say it just depends on the timing, and I've not fully solved the algorithms yet of ticket pricing, but I'm sure there is one. People talk about booking a flight on a Tuesday in the middle of the night, and you get a cheaper price and all these things. But I've not really.
It's very good. Our colleague Michelle, who runs the website Turning Left for Less, and I interviewed her. I think it was last year actually. She's got some very good hints and tips for working these things out. So it's definitely worth having a look on her website and on her Twitter feed. But it is pretty difficult actually to try and work it out for yourself. That's for sure.
Yeah, and of course, invariably, as these things always work out, the cheap flights are never available when you need to go, of course, because that's how it always works. Yeah,
exactly. That's exactly right. It's just one of those things in life, isn't it? But, but we're back to the original question. Like I say, Virgin, BA. I think their premium economy is quite a good product. I think.
Well, we're going to get Nev to sit down with you at some point and do a proper NPE, and we'll get sort of the nitty gritty and nuts and bolts.
That's the plan, Adrian. Nev is going to sit down with you and do a nice extensive NPE segment.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So I think you are the man to talk to when it comes to the passenger experience.
So give yourself a little bit of a plug, Adrian. So you are in the manufacturing business, which is very exciting because the UK is rather guilty of being a service industry. So it's nice to hear somebody still makes stuff.
We do, yes. I've got my own company, as you know, ICAM Solutions Limited, and we do industrial control systems, factory automation. So it's very good at the moment, very busy. Expanding into different industries as well, so that's kind of interesting. So,
are we allowed to ask further questions, or is it all a bit hush hush at the moment?
No. We do automation systems. We're lucky enough to get into some car factories, some very exclusive car factories, and we're in JCB recently, so I know Nev goes there.
So I'm sure you've popped into the yellow tractor company.
I have indeed, quite recently. So I'm very, very pleased and very, very proud of my company, and it's going the right way. So yeah, it's great to be actually manufacturing something in the UK.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Long may it continue. Keeps me busy, that's for sure.
And I'll tell you what, seriously, because I do keep mentioning this, and we are going to have to sit down and do this at some point. We are going to have that Brexit show that I keep talking about.
God.
And,
anyway, moving swiftly on.
Adrian, we'd love to have you on that, actually. As a manufacturer, it would be great to sort of have a bit of a, a chat about that sort of thing.
I've got an idea. Should we do the show like that, but should we do it after March the 29th?
Not
before.
There you go.
Absolutely not. It's much more fun to guess, because that's what everyone else is doing. Let's be honest. But,
actually, Nev, I thought you were going to tell us all about that particular person you were sat with on the train a few days back.
Let's not do that. No. But yes, I was coming home from London quite late one night. In fact, what was it? Was it Thursday?
It was Thursday. Wednesday or Thursday, wasn't it? Yeah.
But yes, Boris Johnson was on the same train as me. We had a bit of a chat.
Did you? Did you not have your you didn't have your Tascam to hand? Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that.
No, I didn't actually. No, but he was being bothered by a few people as well, which I thought was a little bit unfair, because all he wanted to do was
just go
read
home.
his paper and go home. I think.
To be honest, a small part of me was sort of slightly surprised to discover that he was in cattle class.
Well, Chiltern Railways only has one class, with on those services, but it's okay. It works.
Never mind. Anyway, that is where we're going to have to wrap up episode number 233. Adrian, thank you so very much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure, absolutely. As I say, and seriously, as a manufacturer, we're going to have him on when we have our Brexit chat, aren't we? Because knowing all things aviation and all that. But,
don't forget as well, like we said earlier, we are going to do a special segment with Adrian, and Nev's going to join up with Adrian and do a special MPE segment all about that. So that'll be awesome.
Indeed.
So don't forget, you can find us over at www.planetalkinguk.com. We are on Twitter at planetalkinguk. Don't forget us on Facebook as well, where you can catch up on the ins and outs of what we're doing and stuff on Facebook. And also don't forget, on the website you can go on the store page and grab yourself a PTUK t-shirt on there. Which is we send all around the world. In fact, I just brought one round here today. Actually,
you have actually, yes, because we've got one because I'm hand delivering.
Hand delivering. Matt's that good. He's hand delivering. So you can grab yourself a T-shirt on there as well. There's also some pictures in the gallery, I think, from Farnborough as well. You can click on there. There's some pictures on there from our recent trip to Farnborough 2018. You can see those, and click on there, have a look, and find out more about us as a show.
Indeed, yes. So if you want to follow us on Facebook or Twitter, so basically search for us on social media, put into your various, because we're on Instagram and all sorts. So as long as you search for Plane Talking UK, that's Plane Talking UK, you'll find us on social media. Please do send in your audio feedback. We had some audio feedback this week, which I'm looking forward to playing out in the coming weeks. And it's podcast at planetalkinguk.com. That's podcast at planetalkinguk.com.
And I think we've still got some footage left from Farnborough.
We've got
loads of footage
and
left
also,
to play.
lots left to play.
Got lots more to come for that, so that'll be nice to play out in the coming weeks.
Indeed.
Excellent. So Nev, thanks again as always for joining us today.
Pleasure. Hope we all have a good day, and hope we have a nice Sunday.
And Adrian, again, thanks for joining us and taking time out your Sunday to be on the show. Hope you're well and have a great weekend. What's left of it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, that is where we bring episode number 233 of the show to a close. Don't forget, we have the show coming back again next Friday. We're going to be live next Friday, and we have a guest.
We do, a young lad by the name of Ben Rourke. Now, but basically, prepare to all feel very old is what I'm going to tell you with this one, because this guy, who I actually met in my capacity as a coach driver, believe it or not, and I've done a trip down to Guildford for 3 or 4 days on a field course trip, and I was sort of chatting with him over lunch, and as I say, prepare to feel very old. That's all I'll say about it. But he's doing a lot of GA flying, and he's a bit like so many people I could name who randomly get on an aeroplane and just off they go. But so that's it. That's where we bring the show to a close. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.